Dr. Henry brings home Elizabeth, whom he has just married. Upon arrival, the man shows her his luxurious mansion. He introduces her to his son Oliver and his cleaning lady Claire. Elizabeth notices that the boy is blind, but he can navigate perfectly thanks to his hearing. The newlyweds have dinner in a fancy dining room, and then they have their wedding night. In the morning, Henry shows his wife the huge dressing room and other rooms of the house. When Elizabeth asks what's in one of the locked rooms, Henry replies that all the doors in the house are open to her, except for this one. The girl promises never to go in there. The man kisses her, while Claire watches from the outside. Henry informs her that he has to go away on business tomorrow. Elizabeth wonders why her husband leaves her alone on their honeymoon. In the morning, she swims in the pool and looks around the house. When Claire asks what to make for lunch, Elizabeth starts asking questions about Henry, but Claire is reluctant to answer. During the day, she reads books and tries on clothes and jewelry. In the evening, she notices Claire and Oliver leaving. At night, Elizabeth can't sleep and decides to look into a forbidden room that looks like a laboratory. Inside, she finds 6 metal chambers with vital signs. By pressing a button, Elizabeth opens one of the capsules and sees a girl who looks exactly like her inside, in a coma. Shocked, she runs out of the room. Intending to call the emergency service, she finds that the signal has disappeared. Frightened, she goes to bed. The next day, Henry returns home and plays the piano for her, but notices the anxiety in her eyes. Elizabeth tries to pretend that everything is fine, but her voice is trembling. Henry realizes what has happened. The doctor sends Claire to rest until tomorrow and spends the rest of the day in bed with his wife. However, Elizabeth feels that something terrible is happening in this house. At night, Henry gets out of bed and leaves the room. Elizabeth follows him and sees him going down the stairs to the basement to a forbidden room. There, a man appears with a machete in his hand. All the doors in the house are locked, so the girl is unable to escape. She hides in the wine cellar. Hearing no noise, Elizabeth goes into the living room and takes a poker. As she climbs the stairs, she feels Henry grab her leg. She falls, and the man takes her life in cold blood. The next day, Claire and Oliver help bury Elizabeth's body in the garden. Their calm faces show that this is not the first time they have done this. At lunch, Claire nervously reminds Henry that he promised to end this nightmare, but the man replies that he is not going to stop. Henry is visited by his old friend, Detective Logan. They have a drink together. When the detective asks about Elizabeth, Henry turns the conversation to his work. Oliver brings Claire beautiful roses. He asks her why the cleaning lady hasn't left this horrible house yet. She replies that she has unfinished business. Oliver suspects that she is in love with Henry. Claire takes the flowers and asks the boy to leave. 6 weeks later, Henry brings home a new Elizabeth. Everything repeats itself as if it were the first time. A romantic dinner, a wedding night, and a promise not to enter the forbidden room. Upon waking up, the new Elizabeth looks at the paintings in the gallery, tries on clothes, and tries to play the piano. Bored, she decides to look into the forbidden room. This time, however, the girl's clone opens her eyes and stands up. The naked girl wanders the corridors until she comes to Elizabeth's room. She strokes her as if she has known her for a long time, but Elizabeth is sound asleep and does not notice anything. Henry wakes her up during lunch and tells her that Claire and Oliver will not be home today. Elizabeth goes to the bathroom, horrified by what she saw the day before. Henry enters without permission, soaks a towel, and begins to strangle her. The girl gets free and tries to escape, but all the doors are locked. Elizabeth grabs a knife in the kitchen, and the doctor takes out chloroform to stop the fugitive. The man plays the piano and then turns on a record with the same melody. The girl relaxes, and at that moment, Henry attacks her. For a few moments, she seems to lose consciousness, but as soon as the thief lets go of her, she stabs him in the back. Elizabeth faints, and when she comes to, she sees that Henry is dead. She tries to open the door with her husband's fingerprints, but the system is locked. Elizabeth wipes up the blood, changes her clothes, and buries the body. Tired, she collapses on the couch and is woken up by a phone call from Henry. She calls the rescue service, saying that she is locked in the house, but before she can finish, she sees Oliver and Claire approaching. The couple is shocked that Elizabeth is still alive. She tells them that Henry is upstairs because he's sick. Claire realizes that something terrible has happened and falls to the floor with a heart attack. When the ambulance arrives, Elizabeth wants to run away, but Oliver stops her, saying that she will be arrested for her father's murder anyway. He offers to help her, but only if she follows his instructions. Together they get rid of the body in the garden. Oliver tells her that Elizabeth was created through biogenesis and that she is the 5th clone. There are 6 clones of the girl in the laboratory. Oliver explains that her real name is Anna Elizabeth No. 5. Suddenly, they see Detective Logan approaching. Oliver says that he needs to tell the man to leave quickly. Logan is surprised to see Elizabeth because Henry usually meets him. The detective says that he received a call from the emergency service, so he's here. Oliver replies that it was Claire who called during her heart attack. Logan suspects something is wrong and begins to put psychological pressure on Elizabeth. At this point, Oliver sneaks up behind him and shoots the detective with a gun. Oliver explains that Logan worked for Henry and once caught one of the clones himself. The boy confesses that he hated his father after he started growing clones only to kill them again and again. Elizabeth is shocked to learn that she is not an ordinary person, but a clone created for cruel experiments. Oliver buries the body in the garden again and instructs Elizabeth to take the money from the safe, pack her things, and leave immediately. While she is packing her bags, Oliver asks her to read Claire's diary. However, he suddenly locks her in the room. Elizabeth decides to read the scientist's diary. From it, she learns that Henry invited Claire to his house 5 years ago. The doctor was impressed by her work with cell regeneration. Henry's real wife, Elizabeth, died of a rare disease almost immediately after Oliver was born. The inconsolable man decided to create 6 clones of his late wife with the help of Claire, who had decoded her DNA. Henry played recorded speeches and music to the clones every night to imbue them with memories. The first clone turned out to be mentally unstable. She forgot everything she said after 3 seconds. Later, she found a forbidden room and escaped. The clone was caught by Logan and returned home. In the present, Oliver brings Elizabeth dinner. She ties the boy up and he tells her the code to the door, but the code is wrong. Oliver runs away. Elizabeth takes a knife and finds Oliver in the lab. The guy looks at one of the clones and says that he will let her go if she reads him Claire's entire diary. While Elizabeth is looking at the clone, Oliver injects her with a sleeping pill. She wakes up in the bedroom, chained up. Elizabeth continues to read the diary. A week later, the first clone dies unexpectedly. Henry claims that he is not involved, but Claire begins to suspect him. Despite this, Henry and Claire begin a brief affair. Oliver enters the room and asks if there are any entries about him in the diary. Elizabeth replies that there is nothing there. The boy says that his father deliberately blinded him when he was 12, lying that it was an accident. He did it because Oliver saw how his father treated Elizabeth's very young clones. The boy liked them, and he expressed his dissatisfaction to his father. To prevent his son from seeing anything else, Henry blinded him. In her diary, Claire writes that she found out that Elizabeth never gave birth. It turns out that Oliver is not a real person, but a clone of Henry himself in his youth. When Claire asked Henry directly about this, the scientist said nothing. After reading this, Elizabeth begins to fear for her life. When Oliver approaches her, holding a pair of scissors to her neck, she tells him about Claire's suspicions and says that he is not Henry. She says that he has a choice about who he wants to be in this life. Elizabeth tries to seduce Oliver, and when he relaxes and approaches her, she pulls the scissors out and forces him to release her and tell her the correct door code. At this point, clone number 6 appears with a gun. Each of them tries to lure the girl to their side, and she doesn't know who to believe. In the end, she orders the 5th clone to lie down on the ground. However, Elizabeth stabs Oliver with a pair of scissors and hides behind him when the 6th clone shoots. Oliver dies immediately, and the girl is seriously injured. She goes downstairs and opens the door. At that moment, the new Elizabeth shoots her in the back. Before dying, the 5th clone asks the 6th clone to read Claire's diary. The new Elizabeth reads it in full and learns that Henry decided to brutally kill each new clone immediately after their wedding night because none of them could be a full-fledged replacement for his dead wife. Claire was very frightened when she heard about this, but she stayed in the house to continue her research. When Claire returns from the hospital, Elizabeth meets her at the door. The girl gives the scientist her diary and asks her to do something good, because Henry had bequeathed all his property to Claire. Clone number 6 sets off to a new, independent life.